This is the Holy Mountain Podcast, where we discuss what it means to find rest, regain perspective, and reconnect with the world around us. All right, welcome back, everybody. This is Shane Oehler, and back today, my lovely wife,
Rebekah Oehler.
Rebekah.
Yep. It's me again.
Yep. So, yeah, we've had a few guests on the podcast, which has been fun, but I do want us to be kind of like routinely sitting down together as well and talking. So this is another one that we'll give, I think, like a little bit of an update, just how things have been kind of in our family as we've been continuously like walking through this stuff and living this stuff out. And then we're really going to dive into mentorship today. So that's going to be kind of the theme of this podcast today. But I would say, yeah, just in reflection of the last few weeks, how do you feel like things have been family-wise for us?
Oh, goodness. See, every time someone asks me this question, my mind goes blank and I literally can't even remember what I did yesterday. Oh, well, we've just come out of super nice weather. It has felt like that transition from summer to spring. It's cold now, but we've spent the sunny days playing a lot of pickleball.
Yeah.
And honestly, so good. So much fun.
Yeah,
something that, I mean, after we bought the supplies, doesn't cost us any money. And the kids love being out there. And I mean, I think 3 nights in a row, we were out past 9 at the courts. And the kids, I was telling Shane, we need to do that more often, especially in the summertime with the long days, because I'm like, the kids are sleeping past 9:30 in the morning. And I get so much of the morning to myself, which is like my favorite thing, to have a quiet morning with a cup of coffee. So yeah, that has been great. So much so that when we went and we still had youth group on Wednesday night, showed up and Rain was complaining in the car saying, I want to go to pickleball. I don't want to be at church. So that was kind of fun. And she loves church. So for her to choose pickleball over that is like big news. But
yeah, it has been fun. Just like a new hobby. It's felt very like summer breaky to me.
Totally.
And then I think I mentioned to you, like, it's made me like reminiscent of like college days. Like, used to play tennis with one of my friends, Jack, and we would just go to the courts and play a lot of tennis. And so this has felt very similar. Like, we're going down to the community college and playing on the courts there. Or like one of our friends has courts in their neighborhood. And so we went over to their courts. But yeah, it has been fun. Just like definitely an intentional like family time, I guess, like last few weeks and stretch of time. So like, I'm in the midst too of like spring bear season's going on, but this has been, like we've tried to look at the calendar more and plan like a couple intentional trips for me rather than, more one-off like evening hunt type things. And so I think even that for me, I always have like an internal battle with that, like wanting to be out there more, but then kind of feeling like I don't have the chance, but then also like work gets busy this time of year, and I feel like I always forget that. So the spring always is kind of like a surprise, but I genuinely feel like this like last few weeks, like I haven't necessarily, I mean, I definitely like wish I was out bear hunting, but it has been like really fun time with the family that, makes me feel like, no, this is like really good. Like this is totally worth,
it makes it worth it.
Yeah. Because we also took the girls to Lone Pine.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Shot bows.
We did.
And so, like walked the course. So I'm getting to shoot my bow, but then also like with our oldest two, like they're getting to shoot their little bear archery.
So cute.
Longbow that, they have. And they're getting pretty good. Like they each had some good shots and yeah. So it's fun. Like, I think that really was like one of the most fun days I've had recently. But yeah,
it's good to finally see like, I mean, expectations are always like higher than reality sometimes for us, at least with like little kid stage, especially, and their capability, But it was good to see. I remember talking to you at Lone Pine about this, but just the change in their perspective. And like, they actually, like, this is the first time that we've gone out on kind of like mild hike walk through the course with them between just walking in general, being outside in like the heat or like if it got too cold or whatever, the tall grass, you know, the bugs, the elements, and you trying to get them to shoot their bows a little. It was the first time that they were actually like motivated and kept good attitudes. And we didn't have any meltdowns. And that has been like, I remember when we lived out, you know, at the cabin and literally couldn't even walk to like a back field without a meltdown happening because of some element in nature. So that was encouraging.
Definitely like different stage of life, you know?
Yeah. But that's what I mean is like, I think it's more enjoyable now and it's exciting to us. So
I remember you had said too, like, it's almost like something has unlocked with our kids too, where the motivation of like being able to go hunting with dad sometime, like is actually something that they think about. And they're like, okay, like, yeah, I do want to do that. That is motivating to me.
Yep.
So then I have to start doing these things a certain way or going about it differently. So I can't just have a meltdown, you know, over anything, because if I'm out with dad, like he's going to expect me to keep up with him and to be with him the whole time. So it has been cool to see that like unlocked in our girls too.
Yeah. It's so cute.
Yeah. But one of the things too, like I thought, you know, worth mentioning is like we didn't release a podcast episode last week. And ultimately like that was intentional as well. Like for us to just be spending extra family time together, not have to worry about recording a podcast, editing a podcast and all of that stuff. And so like, as much as we do want to be consistent, I guess, just for everybody listening, like know that that's a reality too. Like, again, the whole piece of Holy Mountain is that we're going to be prioritizing our families first. And sometimes that might look like not releasing an episode when we typically would, or like whatever it might be, just for us to like really lean into what it is that we're doing and show that, like in some ways, like we mean it. And one way that you might see that we mean it is that we prioritize our family over like the whole organization or getting content out to other people.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. Any other thoughts? Family recap?
I don't think so. I think it was just the highlights were the nice weather. My days went by faster because the kids slept in longer, so they woke up later, so everything was pushed back. And then it was like you would come home from work and it seemed like you were home early because my day started later than normal. And the days just being longer, you know, it's just the season. I feel like everybody's on the same page with it. Like this transition season is just so enjoyable. I get excited.
Yep.
And then before too long, it'll be too hot for all of us. So, and then we'll complain about that. So.
I'm wishing for the fall.
Exactly.
Yeah, we'll see. But I did want to just say too, we've gotten a lot of good like comments and feedback about like some of the earlier episodes. I think like in particular, the O5Cs episode has been one that has definitely connected with people. And like, that's another, piece. Like yesterday was our Sabbath with our family. And so being able to intentionally talk about that with our girls and pray about it. Again, like I'm excited for just how that will continue looking and like shaping our whole family.
For sure.
But
yeah,
continue to encourage people to go back, listen to that one, and potentially just like look into what it would look like for your family, what some of those pieces would be, and then let us know how it goes. Definitely curious about that.
Yeah.
So like I said, today we're going to be talking about mentorship. And, you know, it's kind of like a core piece of Holy Mountain. Whenever anybody asks about, you know, like big picture vision of Holy Mountain, these mentor groups are always something that I talk about because I see the importance of them and I kind of like see the possibilities for what it could look like. And like, we'll talk about that specifically a little bit more, but I just want to start by having us share about like who our mentors were growing up, if we had any, and just kind of like what that looked like to start.
Yeah. So I feel like for me, mentorship was always something that I like always heavily desired through growing up. I feel like I really wanted it probably in middle school, because I feel like middle school is all, I mean, I think it's hard for everybody, but again, for me, it was really hard because I felt like, I don't know, it's just a season of like confusion in all honesty, like for so many different reasons. And I feel like you wrestle a lot with things and you internalize a lot, and it's just honestly a struggle bus. So I think at that point I started to desire mentorship because like I needed someone other than just my parents to like see me and like acknowledge what I was wrestling with, but also be like sound advice and consistency for me. Just like encouragement. So yeah, I just really desired a mentorship. I think like consciously starting to think about it in middle school. And then I've always like through high school, through young adult years, through everything, have always had that desire. It like never went away. But I do feel like I never actually had anyone. I never really had anyone as a consistent mentor. Like every blue moon, like every like a few seasons, there would be like maybe one of my mom's friends who was also like a family friend. Like we would get together, do barbecues, have dinners together. Like their kids were my friends. They would take me out on like one-on-one meals. And that to me was like, oh my gosh, like I was eating it up, but it was never consistent enough to where I actually like, there was no point that I was like, oh yeah, this is like a mentorship. Like I felt like I was one of several other people in a sense. Like I just felt like I was not prioritized. And so it was like, oh, well, this person does this with everybody. This person's doing this with everybody. And so it wasn't as consistent with me. And like I did a few like different youth groups also through like middle school and high school. And like the youth leaders were always approachable, and I was never like a shy person. Like I would go talk to any adult who was like there and making themselves available if I really needed to. But nothing ever was consistent. And so looking back now, and also like while I was in that season of life, I knew I wanted a mentor and didn't have one, and that no one was stepping up to that for me. And so I don't know if this is like jumping ahead. I for sure, and this is like my personality type, when someone else is dropping the ball of a need that like I have or I had, I will step up to the plate for other people because I didn't get that.
Right. Like you're trying to ensure that what went negatively for you doesn't happen again for somebody else. Yeah.
Yeah. And just seeing other people of like, if there is that need for someone and like I'm already in a relationship with them, that is something that I would say is very, honestly, I think it's very effortless for me. And so it's not like I'm trying to be something for everybody, but I am trying to like acknowledge when there's like a clear relationship in my life where I'm like, I need to like be consistent and make sure that this person knows like I'm here for them. And by person, it's usually like a younger girl.
Right. When you're talking about the consistency like that wasn't there, like what were you expecting, or like what would have made that clearer for you?
I think like communication. I think someone like weekly, either like texting, you know, whatever that is, like sending a message, even if it, like I didn't have a phone at the time, even if they were texting my mom or something like that of like, hey, you know, whatever. Or just consistent communication, which I think in return shows investment from someone who's like, oh, they're like caring about me. I think showing up and like doing life with them. I think if someone, I think there's a difference between like, I had a few small group leaders who like when I was consistently going to youth group, they would show up to events, but I didn't have a relationship with them. So it didn't really mean anything. Like I was like, oh, that's so sweet, but they do this for everybody. I don't actually have like a relationship with you. And so it was almost like, great, you're here, but like, so are we going to like go bond more, or like what's going to come of this? And I think there's like so many aspects that like have to be on in order for someone to be a legit like mentor relationship dynamic happening. I think it's like, you have to do life. You have to be invested. You have to like have relationship. It can't just all be advice and like deep talk. It has to be also like being friends with each other.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like always a peer dynamic, but I've been friends with girls younger than me, and I have friends who are older than me. So it friendships don't always have to look like a peer situation, and it can still be genuine.
Right. For sure. Yeah. I think so. We'll definitely go into like what makes a good mentor and kind of like some of those pieces too. But I think before we get there, like I'll share about what my experience has been. And it's interesting because I also would say I didn't necessarily have the consistency, but to me, I still like identified these people as mentors, probably just because like I did look up to them. The time that they did spend with me like was meaningful. And yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think I would have loved to have like these aspects of consistency, but I don't know that I saw that anywhere else. And so I don't think I had that expectation at all, but
that's what I was about to say. I was like, I think for you, the difference between us is that you didn't have the expectation.
Yeah.
And I somehow, for some reason, I can't even think of like what I may have been around, but I had that expectation.
Yeah. Yeah. So for me, like if I think about like guys that I would consider like mentors or that I feel like mentored me, like definitely Randy is like the main one. I talked, when I recorded with Ethan, like we brought Randy up, but yeah, somebody from our home church growing up that like he honestly like didn't do anything like super out of the ordinary, but it was just like seeing the way that he lived and his family lifestyle, like again, the hunting, like outdoorsy aspect, like he was just like somebody I looked up to in general, but he definitely did like seek out moments with us, like from when we were in middle school and high school. And so to have like this older man in the church that really like has no reason to be involved with like the younger guys, I think to me that showed the intentionality that like, hey, this is meaningful. The fact that Randy just came and like sought me out to have a conversation with me.
Yeah.
Or like times that we would go to his house and go shooting, or as I was like getting into hunting, he came with us and he's kind of like telling me how to look at things and, approach different situations, like things like that. I'm like, okay, like this was meaningful because he clearly doesn't need to do this. Like almost like in some ways a small group leader, I think you can almost have that mindset of like, well, like you're supposed to do this. Like this is your role,
Yeah.
Randy didn't have that. And so everything he did was like very clear. Like you did not have to do this. You chose to do this. And for whatever reason, like you chose like to come spend time with me. And so that was always meaningful. And then we also had like mission trips together, right? Like we went to Uganda together. And so to have like that much time also, I think was cool. But then I think that's another piece where you're saying like the friendship, like it normalized Randy in a lot of ways too, because like here's somebody that's also like growing in their faith as a Christian. Like I am called to do that, like as a young student at the time, but also like here's a grown man that's also doing these things. And so like I think that just like normalized the life of a believer and like just like the reality of people too.
If you think about like even like small groups, right? Or like at different, whatever stage you're in, you're always grouped with your peers because it's like, oh, there's benefits in knowing other people are struggling or going through what you're going through. But it's like, that is also true if people are really being transparent.
Right.
Like you could find that in any age.
Yep.
You could connect. Like it doesn't have to be a pure thing. And I think that's something that like is maybe just like misunderstood in the mentorship aspect, is it's not like you have to be this all-knowing wise person.
Right.
You just have to be someone who's like pouring into like someone who might be like a few steps behind you in life, and you're willing to be honest and transparent.
Right. And I obviously like there's an aspect of like what's appropriate to share.
Yeah.
What's not. I do think a lot of that depends on like the environment that you're in, right? Like when I worked at the program or when I was at the facility, like I might like there was like relational components to my job, but I wouldn't say it was mentorship because it wasn't truly like life alongside. It was like, this is my job. And
yeah,
like there's like limits and boundaries there. But I think even, and this is kind of like jumping around, but like I meet with a group of high school guys on Wednesday mornings, and like lately I've been able to share with them like, hey, here are some of these like big things that are happening like in my life and in my family's life, and like things that we're considering and things that we're praying about, things that we're like wrestling with, and like how we're trying to navigate this situation. I think it's super helpful for them to see me in that way.
Yeah.
Of like, I mean, not only like, yeah, Shane, like our youth pastor currently right now, but just like Shane, a guy who's also walking with Jesus, and experiencing some of these things that he is unsure about, that he is having to pray about.
Yeah.
And that he is like really considering like, what does it look like to live this out in my life right now?
Yeah.
And like, it's cool to see, I mean, in my opinion, it's cool even for me to see them watching me process through that and
I agree.
like experience that.
I feel like, yeah, I think it's like being in the mentor position, like you were saying, there's obviously boundaries. I think the major boundary, I mean, number one, know your audience, but I think that applies to any dynamic, any relationship that you have. But I think there's a difference between like honesty and being transparent and like confiding, you know, like I'm not going to necessarily like confide in the people that I have that relationship with. And I'm the one who's like the mentor in that dynamic.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I can still be honest. I can still like share things. There's just, like you said, there's going to be like certain boundaries with that of like the way I talk to them about a topic or a situation is probably going to be different than like when I fully confide in you about that topic and situation.
Sure. And that's something too, like I used to teach like our boundaries training, you know, with our staff at the program, and something that like we would often kind of like talk about or encourage the staff to consider is like, why are you sharing this information about yourself? Sometimes it's like to fill an awkward space like that, then that's probably not the time to share it.
Right.
Sometimes it's like, because you are actually insecure and you're wanting some validation, and you're actually going to like a younger person for that validation, which is unhealthy. But like I was just sharing, like sometimes I think it's actually to benefit like the relationship. Like if I can share with these guys, here's how I am walking with Jesus right now.
Yeah.
Here's what this is looking like in my life. Then that's something that I'm sharing that is like personal and vulnerable.
Yeah.
But it's also like for their gain and for their benefit to like learn how I'm navigating some of these processes too.
Yeah.
But like a line that I used to share all the time with the staff at the program was, information you share in a good moment can become ammunition in a bad moment. So there's like times that people will have these like good connections and they're like, wow, I should share this like struggle area that I have had to like further connect with this person.
Yeah.
And then like the next second they're like blurting it out to everybody and like making fun of you for it. You know? So I think like, again,
oh man, nothing will make me shut down faster.
Right.
Oh man, I've had my fair share of that.
Yeah.
That's a rough one.
That was like always a line that I had. Yeah. Information you share in a good moment can become ammunition in a bad moment.
And I also think it's like, it makes them like, if you're willing to be vulnerable, Like, it's like, I'm not just going to suck your vulnerability and then offer nothing like back to you, you know? And it makes them feel like almost like, oh, wow, like how amazing that it almost reveals how you actually truly view them and where your heart's at with them. Like, this is real. Like, they're, you know, it's not just them trying to like get all the information out of me.
Right.
And like fix me where, you know, I'm lacking, you know? I think going back, there was something that you were saying with your dynamic with Randy.
Yeah.
And like the intention and all that. And I do feel like that has been like in little moments where I've gotten my hopes up of feeling acknowledged in someone who is someone that I could confide in as a mentor. But was never, you know, no one stuck out in consistency over time. But I feel like it sounds cheesy, but for me personally, it's that feeling of being special and like unique to someone where it's like, I'm not just another person. I'm not just another young person. I'm not just another, you know, whatever. Yeah. Like, I am special. And then as I'm thinking that as you're talking, it is like, again, I always say, and I really realized this when we were doing like premarital counseling. Oh my gosh, talking is so hard for me today. Premarital counseling, and we were about to get married. I was having the epiphany that like all, you know, God is all about relationships and us being in relationship with each other. And with that comes so many different relational dynamics. And what I learned at that point and to now, I'm continuing to learn, every different relational dynamic is like God revealing another part of himself to us. And like, as we experience that, we're also being like, oh, wow, this is like so representative of like who God is with us. And I feel like in the mentor situation, and is it mentee? Is that what you would call it? Okay. The mentor-mentee relational dynamic, it is like the mentee wants to feel special and feel like they're intentionally sought out. And the mentor, like their intention is to pursue this young person out of like love and guidance and protection and wanting what's best for them. And it's like our relationship with God. And like, just like we are with God, like we want to be special. We want to be sought out. We want to be different than the rest. Like, this is like the same dynamic playing out, but obviously not to what our relationship with God is. But I still feel like, well, yeah, it's in our human nature to want that. Like, if we want that out of God and like relationship dynamics are from him, like that's okay for us to want that out of, you know, that mentorship relationship.
Right. Like somehow, yeah, like God can have this with each of us, right?
Right.
Like knows the number of hairs on our head. And yet like I think like so easily like drop the ball with other people. Cause in some ways, like while you were talking, I almost thought about it too. Like a therapist would not say like they're a mentor to their clients because it's like a scheduled time. It is very much like, all right, your hour is up, like on to the next kind of a thing. Yeah. And like, to me, that isn't like a legitimate mentor relationship. Cause again, it's like, it's not life on life. It's not like that same.
It's missing like a lot of the factors.
Intention. But I'm going to jump back a little bit. Okay. Just talk about other people that I feel like were mentors in my life. Really it was like a lot of the youth pastors that like I interacted with at camp. But again, this kind of challenges some of the consistency argument because I would really see them for like a week out of the year.
Right. Yeah.
And there might be like small scale follow-up like throughout a year where, you know, they just like check in or say something like that. But I think again, for me, it was like the level of intention that I experienced within that week where I knew like Joel really cares about me. Right. Like Chris really cares about me. Like Bobby, you know, is my youth pastor, like primarily when I was in high school. And like, I definitely knew like he cared about me. He showed up for me. He sought out like one-on-one, you know, interactions, and we go to Jamba Juice or something like that, you know, but, like, I think, again, there's ways where, like, for each of those guys as youth pastors, you also can almost make it feel like, well, that's like part of their job. Like they have to.
Yeah.
But I also knew the reality, like they didn't have to.
Yeah.
Like Chris and Joel weren't even, like in the same city.
Yeah.
And so like,
and I do feel like with them, just from my short experience with the camp crew.
Yeah.
There was that level of like intention and like they were genuine and like, again, I'm not saying like they were always like leading with vulnerability, but there was that sense there where it's like they were the first to admit like they're sinners and they're still struggling.
Yeah.
And like that dynamic of, there was no facade. It was all real, even if we only saw them for a week.
Yeah. Yeah. Like they definitely like led with humility there. And like thinking about it now too, like they always gave me opportunity, which I think like is also like critical in a mentor relationship. Like you're recognizing something in somebody that you're trying to like help cultivate and develop. And so like for me, a lot of the years it was like, drumming on the worship team at camp. Joel would usually lead worship. Chris would help lead worship. And so I'm like serving alongside those guys again. Like they're not this like lofty figure, like above and beyond me that I'm like, wow, that's so unattainable. But it's actually like, hey, we're all going to be doing this together. And we actually see something within you that we know you can actually do this too with us. And then it was like, sharing my testimony at camp or something like that. So like they're always seeking me out and trying to put me in those positions as well. But yeah, I think it's huge. So I would really say like those were the big mentors for me. And we've talked about some of this, but like what for people that you did have like any sort of mentorship dynamic with, or that like, you're like, this could have been that, like you talked about the commitment and like the consistency.
Yeah.
Like, are there other things that you think like did make those interactions positive or could have made those interactions positive? Like if you think about like what it takes to be a good mentor, like what are the characteristics that you're really thinking about?
Ooh, that's good. Feel like when I was younger and I was still figuring out who I was, I think for me, the women who stuck out to me were women who were not similar personality to me. Like they were very, I don't want to say opposite, but like pretty opposite with just like I can lead. Like I'm an extrovert, even though that's not necessarily my like core. And they're more like mild. I don't know, just mild compared to me.
Yeah.
And I think for me, I always like that always stood out when someone different, a grown woman who was a different personality than me, like saw something in me and like pursued me. And to me, I'm like, oh, wow. Like they must really care about me for I always struggled with like quiet women who were like timid. And for these women weren't timid, but they were like what I would call quiet. And for them to pursue me and want to like get coffee or go, shop, just do little hangouts outside of our family seeing each other. The one-on-one stuff, like that meant a lot to me. And I think for me at that age, it was, I latched onto that because I was like, wow, like I'm not too much for them. I felt fully understood by them, which is like my biggest thing, is feeling like if someone can be different than me and still have the like love and respect to understand me and not get mad at how I am the way I am, like that will, like I'll be locked in for life, like good, bad, ugly, And so I think for me, I needed that like other side that I wasn't tapped into, who they were willing to take the time to deal with my differences from them, but also like gave me something to aspire to be. So yeah, I feel like that was one. I always latched on to like very like prayerful women. Because I think to me, I respect people who take action. So I'm like, even if they're not like outwardly doing anything crazy, Like if I know like, oh, wow, these women, when they say they're going to pray for you, they're praying for you. I always, and still to this day, like I latch on to that type of a woman who like means what she says.
Yeah. So like just to pull out some of those things.
Yeah.
So someone who's understanding,
Yep.
like both of you, but of the situation that they're in.
Yep.
And then someone who just like operates with integrity.
Yeah. 100%. And I do feel like, yeah, and again, like I don't know if this is true for everyone, but for me, like there was always room for me to rant. Mm-hmm. There was always room for me to be honest. But again, because of that understanding, I could talk about whatever and say whatever.
Yep.
And like they were there to hear it, but they also like spoke on things. Like they commented, they shared their opinions. Like I don't think it's beneficial or productive to have conversations and just like be there to hear someone out in that type of a relationship dynamic and then not share any of your own opinion. For me personally.
Yeah, like you're looking for the input.
I am always looking for the input. And I also think when you acknowledge that that's the dynamic or you're there, like a lot of those times when we went and got coffee or stuff like that, like there was usually a reason, like there was something we were getting at in the conversation, whether like it was like blatant or it'd be like, oh, like you're struggling with friendships right now. Like, let's dive into that. You know, there was always like something behind it. And so it was always productive. Like there was always a purpose behind it. And again, my relationship with them is I was also seeing them, you know, out at sporting events. We were having dinners together. We were going and doing stuff. So it wasn't like a forced thing. It was like special. Like, whoa, when we do one-on-one things, like it's like intentional. Mm-hmm. Like we're trying to like problem solve almost. But it wasn't draining or exhausting like that by any means.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah.
What about you?
That's good. Yeah. Thinking about the mentors that I had, like I think again, like just reiterating like the intentionality, that's very meaningful. I think both of us like are very discerning people. I do think like a lot of young people in general, like are very discerning. They know if like someone has good or bad intentions most of the time. And they know like, am I another one on your list? And you're like checking off an interaction or is this like actually genuine? Yeah. But I think that's huge to me. Like if I get the impression like something about it is phony, then I'm like stiff arming it, totally. You know, almost like automatically. Oh, yeah. And so that was meaningful to me. Just like very clear intentionality and like genuine interactions. I think like there's definitely, just the aspect where it wasn't always like all right, sit down, Shane, like, let me give you some wisdom. Like for me, it was like, I didn't want that. And I didn't experience that. And I think like very positively, but it was like, we're going to do stuff together. And I know I've heard that explained, like guys versus girls, right? Guys are like shoulder to shoulder. Girls are knee to knee. Like they want like the face-to-face conversation. Guys want to be like shoulder to shoulder, like doing something together. And so I think all of those guys like did that really well. I also obviously like had these like sit down conversations too with some of these guys that were helpful. But like I'd said, like for Randy, it was like, he's walking me through like firearm safety. Then we're shooting together. And then he's like showing me the ropes of hunting. When I got my first deer, we took it to Randy's house and he's like showing me how to skin it, what it looks like to actually like butcher the deer. You know, like he's walking me through these like relevant things. Like he's not trying to like create something for me that's like not there and not real, but he knows like, oh, with what Shane's going through, here's how I can come alongside him, like in an appropriate way. Again, with the mission trip, he's not that he like went on it because of me, but like he's joining me now on a team where it's in some ways like level playing field. Yeah. But he still knows like the role he has to kind of like give wisdom in those moments. But again, all of it was like very genuine, never phony, but he's willing to have fun with us. like willing to do whatever we're doing. And so that was always meaningful to me. I think, yeah, there's definitely the piece of understanding that I think a good mentor has to have, like just knowing the person.
Yeah.
Right. Because like I've also had interactions where like people give advice or give feedback, and I'm like, that's not relevant at all, actually.
Like, do you know me?
Right. And so then it like shifts something in my mind where I'm like, okay, like I thought you were this person in my life, but because of what you just said, like now I can kind of tell that that wasn't ever real, in the sense that like you don't meaningfully know me. And so you must have had some like mixed motive, or like not actually paid attention when I told you these things, because if you had, like you would have known this, you would have responded differently here, whatever.
Yeah.
So I think there's that piece that I like recognize too is super important. Like for me individually, but I think for people in general. And I also think probably with that understanding is like an understanding of self. Like they have to know like who they are, what they bring, and like how they're showing up as well. Because like if they don't, then they're also potentially operating out of insecurity. They're going to be like making stuff up if they can't just be honest. Like, yeah, I don't know that. Like,
right.
And like, let's look at it together or something like that and feel comfortable in what they don't know. Like that was another thing that we kind of talked about with some of the staff that I worked with. Like you have to have a strong sense of self, because like working with young people is going to, I don't know, like expose your insecurities.
Yeah.
And it's going to like tear you down if you don't have like a strong self-esteem and a like kind of like mental resilience. Like I even had a professor for one of my youth ministry classes, and he joked like the same kind of kids that scared you when you were in high school will scare you as an adult.
Yep.
And I like witnessed that firsthand with different like staff that I worked with and like students that were there. Like you could tell this one girl in particular like had a huge insecurity around kind of like the preppy popular girls, because we had a couple girls that were like that stereotype. And this staff person acted like they were 12 years old and just like deeply insecure, were getting pushed around by these like preppy popular girls. And the interactions were so immature. She ended up like oversharing, you know, like things like that, where it's just like so many red flags and like so many issues. But like I see that like even in the like a church setting, I guess, like
for
with
sure
small group leaders and
it's
different
the same,
kinds of students.
It's the same dynamic.
Yeah.
Anywhere you go.
Yep.
And it's so true. Like it actually is so true. And like having that awareness helps me a lot. I also think like you and I say this with all humility. We're fairly confident in who we are.
Yeah. I don't think that's like an arrogant thing to say.
I feel like that stuff doesn't like phase us as much work. And I think that's why we have had success in all of the dynamics that we've like worked with youth. With that being said, there's probably also relationships that have gone under the radar that we're just unaware of that we could have done better. Like we're not the best there ever is. But yeah, for me, so like, interesting to watch because it's very obvious when another like adult working with a student is not confident and you're like, what is happening?
Yeah.
Like be who you are, like be who we thought you were.
Yeah. Like for me, I can look back and it was like the time I worked at the facility was like when I really had to figure out like, okay, like I acknowledge the things that aren't perfect about me.
Right.
I know like the insecurities I have and why. Like I know like not all of these things, right? But like I'm building this self-awareness because the guys, especially in the facility, so good at reading you and picking you apart and figuring out like what got under your skin,
Yep.
and they just like drive that knife in.
Oh, yeah.
And, like twist it. And so I remember like there's plenty of times where even like after, some heated moment, the guy who's been chirping at me like comes over and like we'll have a conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And he like almost in jest, he'd be like, "Oh, Shane, like I thought I had you there." And I was like, "No, like I know what's true about me and what's not." And so like you saying all these like horrible things like doesn't faze me because I know that's not true about me.
Also coming from you, I know exactly what you're doing.
Right. Yeah. But like I could look around and other coworkers couldn't say that. Right.
Yeah.
Other coworkers like were getting like triggered, or like we would say like hooked. Like once you got hooked in a conversation,
Yep.
like this guy knows that he is like emotionally gotten you, and like now you're the one escalating the situation.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think like, again, just like a high level of self-awareness is
and yeah,
critical.
I think what you said, like leading with humility of like, it's okay if you don't do things perfectly. I think like my first ever, I would say like official, like mentor role that I played was probably like 15 or 16.
Yeah.
With my sister and like a friend group of like 3 or 4. And I would just lead Bible study. I don't even remember how regular, but like, they were over at our house all the time. My sister did stuff with them. So like I saw them around, had a relationship with them, and I started a Bible study with them. And then like we all went to camp together, and then I would be their counselor. So it was like a very, I would say consistent group for probably like maybe 2 or 3 years. Like it was pretty steady. But yeah, with my sister being in that group and with me knowing them all, and kind of like they've been in my family dynamic with my parents and my sisters. So they know it's just like brutal honesty, So at any point they would just like rip me apart in like, Becca, you're not really doing a good job leading this Bible study right now.
Yeah.
Like you started off really good and now it's kind of falling apart. And honestly, like it crushed me. And I would like, oh man, I mentally, to this day, if I'm very sensitive about it, because like I care so much for like my intentions for them that I'm like, this is not about me. But then for their critique to be like, you're kind of making it about yourself. I was like, but that's not my intention.
Yeah.
But then it was like, oh, I get what you're saying. And it was one of those where it's like, okay, you can get both sides of it. Like more self-control for me to like read the room a little bit or not have to fill the gap or whatever. And even to this day, like my small group at church, and I think I've led with this in any girls group and we're having discussion, I'll just lead with who I am and be like, flaws and all, you guys, this is my dynamic that I bring to a discussion group. If you're over it and you don't want to hear about it, please tell me.
Yeah.
Because that was my thing with my sisters. I was like, why would you have let me go on for the past, like, I don't know, 4 get-togethers and not say something? Like, just say it the moment it happens. Because now I feel like a fool. And I didn't know. So yeah, it's pretty funny. The girls laugh at it now, and now I get confronted all the time with my small group girls, and it's so funny. And I'm like, thank you. Like it does make my heart happy that they're like just calling me out. I'm like, okay, note taken. Love you.
Well, I think like that's a piece too, that not necessarily that this is like 100% what you're talking about, but I do think like an aspect or like an element of objectivity is really important, like in a mentor relationship as well, where like specifically with, if you're the mentor to your mentees, like you cannot be on the same roller coasters that they're on, to where like you recognize like you are a piece of their life. You are not like the savior of their world.
Right.
You're not the hero.
Yep.
But like you are like somebody who is in a position of influence, hopefully, right?
Yeah.
To be used like in a positive way, but you are not like the sole driver for what happens in their life.
Yes.
And so to also like remove yourself enough to not again be on their same roller coaster. Like if they're struggling, that shouldn't mean that you're struggling.
Yep.
If they're crushing it, hopefully that is like an encouragement to you. But again, like kind of like pour the cup of affirmation and glory back out, because it's not you specifically. Like it is like other things that can be at play. Again, you can be a piece of it. Like I wouldn't say like I am who I am now because of Randy or because of Bobby, Joel, and Chris. They all have played a role in my life that have contributed to the way I am now, but it's not like they're the sole explicit reasons. But I think that's another thing that just like meaningfully adds the effectiveness of a mentor. And so in, prep for this, I was like reading some different.
Before you move on to something else, going off of what you just said.
Yep.
I do like spot on. And I think, again, this comes under the umbrella of leading with humility of in the past, like I have been, when I was in a high schooler being like a counselor, but, mentor, whatever.
Yep.
There was that underlying like subconscious of like, oh, well, like I'm their go-to.
Right.
And there was I was unaware of the false pride that I was building in that area to where if they went to someone else, like another adult for something and not me, I would be like, why didn't they come to me? And then I would start to feel somewhat insecure of like, man, did I do something? Did I say something? Like what's happening? And I feel like now in life, I now like am very confident that like a mentorship relationship is like for me personally, what have I've experienced. It's not like that is not the only dynamic of that relationship for me. Like we have so many other dynamics in our relationship. That's just like one part of it. And I feel like that leaves so much room for us to breathe and let it be organic and not forced. And like the realization that I don't have to save them when they're struggling. I just need to be available. And if they need, and almost just ask like, what do you need in this time right now? Do you need me to check in? Do you need accountability? Do you need me to just pray and be there when you're ready to contact me? Like, what does it need to look like? Yeah. And just like acknowledge that. But then also realizing, you and I have talked about this a lot. And I do think this has helped me with the, not building a pride and not getting hurt if they're seeking someone else. But the realization that no one needs just one person. We need multiple. And they all bring different things to the table. And it's actually probably not healthy if it's just like one person. That when you stay isolated, it starts to, good thing can become a bad thing. When you get too much of it.
Yeah, this
and
is
the
another
stat thing or whatever that you've like said before has really helped me with that.
Yeah. So you're referring to like, there's the book Sticky Faith, and they essentially just talk about how like when a student has 5 positive relationships with adults outside of their parents, their faith like exponentially sticks. So it's just the idea again, like 5 people outside of their adults,
like minimum,
or outside of their parents. Yeah. Minimum. And so like, that's even the way that I kind of talk to my small group leaders. Like we have the opportunity to be one of the 5, but even in that context, I know like we're not all going to be all of like youth group will not be the all encompassing thing.
Right.
For like a student's faith to stick. Again, we might be a part of it. And so we can have the humility to recognize like, hopefully like we're playing a part in their faith journey and like God is using us in this. But we know like we are not going to be what like makes a person's faith.
Right. It's like the drop in the bucket analogy.
Totally. But like we got to be willing to be a drop, you know.
And not a pitcher.
Yeah.
Or we're not always gonna be a pitcher filling up this this bucket.
Or just like think that we are the bucket. Like that's not how we've been positioned to be. But so some of the things that we've been talking about are also things that I actually like found, because in preparation for this, like I was reading a bunch of Google Scholar articles. That's like a side hobby. Even for like hunting stuff, I definitely read a lot of Google Scholar articles. But I was just curious because like, again, I wanted to kind of know like how effective is mentorship even? Like there are quite a few different mentorship programs, and it's pretty popular in different spaces, different organizations, again, like in the church, all this stuff. And it was interesting to see, like in some ways there's mixed results on the effectiveness of mentorship, But this one I found almost focused more on the mentor and then how the mentor leads to the effectiveness of the mentee and like that relationship in general. And it's because of the character qualities again. And so they talked about this like resilience. Like if the mentor is resilient, like especially emotionally, that's going to benefit the relationship again. And so again, it's like not to say that it's, oh man, it's such a tricky thing.
Not to say that emotional people can't be mentors.
No,
I'm just kidding.
No, that's not what I was going to say. But like, again, I don't think that we should have this like savior complex or like hero complex at all about the mentor relationship. But there is a recognition that the person that is doing the mentoring is a significant impact on the relationship, positive or negative.
Yeah.
And so even for us, right? Like thinking about Holy Mountain, who are these like mentors going to be? What's that going to look like? It definitely will not be just like, oh, we need bodies. We need warm bodies.
Absolutely not.
Like there's going to be a pretty significant like vetting process for the types of people that we're looking for. Because again, this one study was talking about the resilience of a person because again, if I am not resilient and you are full of hardship and trouble and issues, that's going to send me into a spiral. Now I'm not going to be a consistent and stable and safe person for you to be interacting with. And so I have to be objective. I have to be resilient. I have to be grounded, self-aware, committed, consistent. Like all of these things that we've been talking about, this study like specifically named as like, these are the things that matter. And then when those are in place
and not
for
just
the
one,
mentor,
but all of them.
Yeah. Or like a majority. Right. And when these things are in place for the mentor, then yes, we see significant positive gains in the mentor relationship. And this mentee then is engaging in all of these pro-social behaviors. They're doing better in all these different areas. And then they become effective and positive members in the community.
Do you have the list?
That was the list. Like those are the things that I was saying.
Okay.
Like the resilient, grounded, self-aware, committed, consistent. Like they went into like some other things as well, but like those were again, like some of those core pieces that I like pulled out of it.
Okay.
But I think like that again was encouraging for me to see like, yeah, this is effective. It can be a super effective tool, but also like, it's not something to be flippant about. And I think people who maybe have experienced negative mentor relationships maybe have experienced like a mentor that wasn't the best, like just to put it out there, I guess, you know.
So do you
like
think
potentially
like
somebody in the wrong spot?
Do you think like as a mentor, we need to be able to identify like when that dynamic is shifting? Like, oh, this is like, we're not talking like as friends, we're not talking casually. Like this is like we're now talking as like they're looking to me for something or they're confiding in me. Do we need to like,
I don't think it needs to be that explicit. Cause again, like I know people do have like different ideas. Like even in my role at the church, like we talked about like, is mentorship, discipleship, is there a difference? What is the difference? And some people looked at mentorship as like, I'm looking for help in a specific area. So now you are my mentor in the specific area.
like topical.
Yeah. I think in my experience, it hasn't been that way. And it really has been just more, again, like life alongside life, what we would term as like discipleship.
Yeah. Like just wisdom from someone who.
But not even that all the time, right?
Okay.
Again, just like I am intentionally doing life alongside you.
Yeah.
While that is happening, you're going to be looking at me to see like, what does it look like to do life in this way?
Right. Okay.
Right. Like, so it doesn't have to be like, I push my glasses up my nose and I'm saying like, pull out your notebook because like you're about to get wisdom from me. Like I'm about to disciple you. Like that's not actually the model.
Yeah.
That I think that we see biblically.
I would
there
feel
are those
personally
times.
that would be way too formal for me.
Right.
Like as a mentee or as a mentor.
Yeah. I think in some ways, like you've said, that's what you've looked for or that's what you've expected. But I think also it's to like not minimize the relationships that we do have where we are mentoring or we are discipling where we might not know it, but that we can like step into those like with a little bit more intentionality. But I think like, again, like we talk about with Holy Mountain all the time, like we talked about at the beginning of this podcast, the values have to start with us and with our families before they can go outside.
Right.
If we are not intentionally like sharing, shepherding, shouldering, like in our own lives, in our families' lives, we should not be trying to do that outside.
Yeah.
Right. But then like once we are able to effectively live those things out, then I would say like, then you probably are a person who is equipped and who is ready to like step outside of those spaces and look for this type of a dynamic or like this type of relationship. Like look at, if you do have family members, extended family members, like friends that have kids, like whatever those things might be, like those natural, like next steps and next like spheres of influence. But this has to start with us. Otherwise we will be these people who lack resilience, who are ungrounded, unstable, unsafe, lack awareness, not committed, not consistent, because we haven't gone through the framework to actually be disciplined in our own lives and responsibly.
And you'll probably do more damage than good.
Yeah. And like, it's going to be for a wrong motive.
Yeah.
It's going to be, again, like trying to be a hero, trying to validate ourselves.
Yeah.
Trying to like, feed something into us that is actually like not helpful and not healthy, rather than intentionally being there for another person.
And I do think, like you said, it is like the best example of it would be like it being a domino effect, because again, like it's starting at square one and then it trickles to square two, then it and it's a domino effect. And I do think as more dominoes get knocked down and it spreads farther outside of your family circle, I do think in different seasons of your life, like you were saying, sometimes it is just someone that is like in your weekly community that you're seeing and interacting with. And that's what that relationship becomes. And then sometimes I think it's a choice of putting yourself in a situation to build relationships outside of what you would normally be doing. It's not always like, I'd say sometimes it's God putting someone in our bubble. And then other times it's us putting ourselves in a bubble, because that's something that God has like opened up, and you're choosing that of like, I'm not doing anything. And I feel like that's what started with us with even getting involved in the youth ministry at our church. It was, we had the relationship. We were starting to build the connections. We started to be like, oh, this is our community, but we're only here on Sunday mornings. Like what else could we be doing? Because we feel like, again, we had that at home. We were working on that at home. We had that discipline where we were like, okay, we have that habit built for our family, and not in a perfect way, but we were like locked in. We were ready to then take another step.
Yep.
So yeah, I do totally agree with that. And I think the most depressing aspect of all of this for me is realizing, again, like this doesn't sound like I'm speaking from humility, but it is just like our experience with the two of us and other people that we've like come alongside or have related to in this area. I would say like probably over 50% of people who are like putting themselves in this role or think they're in this type of a relationship are not it's not operating the way it should be. And I would say it potentially just isn't healthy.
Yep.
And I think you could probably agree.
Yeah. I think it's definitely a tough spot where I think in a lot of places people see the need for mentors or like for that type of a role. And yet like the pool of people who are equipped to be that, I think is pretty small. And so then exceptions start to be made. And sometimes I think that can grow a person to be effective in their role. And sometimes I think, like you said, it can actually be like harmful or just like not beneficial and isn't super fruitful. So I think again, as we like look to like build this out in the future with Holy Mountain, that's definitely like something that's in the back of my mind. And like even talking through this right now, like has been a reminder of the importance of like finding the right people. I would rather have 2 of the right people than 20 of the wrong people, you know?
And like you said too, I like that you said like the pool of people who are not equipped. There is like a certain type of person who can be put in this position and actually like flourish from it.
Yeah.
And it's like a learning opportunity, but they're responding correctly and it becomes like amazing growth for them, but also like it's impacting the people that they're connecting to.
Yep.
And I feel like I've experienced that myself, but it's also kind of risky sometimes. Like you just never know.
Well, I mean, again, I think, that's up to the discernment of the people in charge.
Right.
And to know, like this was something even like when I was hiring people, right? It's okay, this person is not going to be the perfect candidate and the perfect employee.
Yeah.
But the areas that they're weak in or deficient in are those areas that I feel confident in to train them in. Like, can I train this deficiency that they have? Or is this like above my scope as well to where like I actually really need to find somebody with these certain strengths because that's not my strength either to train and equip this person for that. So a lot of it is just like analyzing that. And again, it's going to be like case by case and kind of like up to the team that's working there and that whole situation. But again, I think to just wrap this one up kind of with a bow, like to be an effective mentor, again, those things that you should be like thinking about is like your own level of resilience, objectivity, how self-aware you are, and then are you willing to be committed and consistent to this type of a relationship? And if so, like people, like we need you, right? Like,
oh my gosh,
not just like Holy Mountain, but like the world needs those type of people.
And the need will not be going away.
Yeah, the need's not going to go anywhere. If anything, like it's probably just going to continuously grow.
Yeah. And if you're not one of those people, maybe like dissect, or if you are and you're questioning, like, am I a good mentor? Start to peel the onion back and look at the core. What is your family life like? How are you leading your family? Are your priorities correct? Or maybe are you in a position leading in a way that you're not leading at home and you need to take a step back and restructure? Because again, if we're really good leaders, we're going to lead with humility, and there's nothing like more humbling than recognizing that you are operating out of like false energy. I don't know, false intent, false discipline, I guess. I mean,
just like operating out of phoniness or like a false belief in what the situation is, like a
and
lack
that's
of
okay.
awareness and reality. But
again,
has to start with you. Has to start in your home before it can ever go out. That's something that we're continuously going to be like preaching, trying to live out within Holy Mountain. But we think, even outside of Holy Mountain, that's what it is as well. That's what it requires. So that's mentorship. Let us know if you've had good mentors, what that looks like, what made a good mentor.
Honestly, I would love to see comments on this. That'd be great.
Okay. Becca, hit us with a creation quote.
Okay. This is an old Japanese proverb. Better than 1,000 days of diligent study is one day with a great mentor.
It's good. Super concise. Love it.
All right.
Okay. Like we've been talking about, if you guys want to support us, you can do that at officialholymountain.com. You can do that by donating just to our general fund, or you can purchase some of our merch as well. And we have a 10% discount code to any of our podcast listeners if you use the code HMPOD. So that'll get you 10% off anything on the website. Again, our merch is a way to kind of like represent Holy Mountain outside of, just like what we're promoting, I guess, and like talking about. But then also it is a tangible way to support us as well, because all that money just goes right back into the nonprofit. So
Yep.
we'd love for you guys to support us, spread this out to people that you think could benefit from it or would be interested in what we're doing. Again, we're definitely in that kind of like building phase of Holy Mountain as it just kind of continues to get hotter and hotter on the back burner.
There we go.
Yep.
Love it.
But okay. Thanks for listening, guys.
Thank you.
We will see you next week, probably.
Yep. Bye.
All right. See ya.